are not available for sale, but are sometimes given as gifts in brackets, for example, at Christmas, to loyal customers and others such as school principals who are seen to bring business to the clients. Since this was a non-assurance assignment, the gifts were automatically and gratefully accepted. III, or Roman number 3. In early January 2019, the company received correspondence from the Ghana Revenue Authority into bracket GRA, claiming that the company has failed to pay certain mineral royalties, which are usually charged on the jewelry manufactured. Normally, these levies are automatically deducted when miners or mining companies sell their minerals to dealers. In this case, all of the minerals extracted were used to make jewelry, jewels, and ornaments by the company itself. So the company never considered the possibility that royalties might apply to it. The Chief Executive Officer into bracket CEO of Adoma Mining and Jewelries Limited tells you that he has done some research into the issue. It is his view that an argument can be made that the royalties do not apply in this case. However, should they apply, the amount outstanding would be the mineral, since a number of years of non-payment might be involved. The CEO is aware that Abdullah Ifriye & Co. has a lot of jewelries-based clients, and has asked if Abdullah Ifriye & Co. would handle this matter as a separate assignment in addition to the audit. Required, discuss 5 ethical issues that may arise for Abdullah Ifriye & Co. in relation to the audit of Adoma Mining and Jewelries Limited, TEMAS.
Okay, so let's take that first question. So even before I begin to explain and everything, right? Can someone give us, this is something we've treated before, but can someone give us like the ethical issues, some of the ethical issues that they see here? What are some of the ethical issues? Does anyone have an idea? If you don't want to speak up, you can type it in the chat. Okay, I don't think anyone wants to speak, so let me just breeze through. So while you're reading the case, there are some ethical issues that arise. And the first ethical issue is that arises for Abdullah Ifriye & Co. is that they prepare the accounts and they audit them. That's the first ethical issue. Like we've always indicated, if you prepare something and you audit it, it's just like you writing an exam and marking it. So that's an ethical issue. That's an ethical issue.
So a question.
Yes.
So even though it's a non-assurance audit, it doesn't really matter, or?
No, it doesn't really matter because here we are talking about ethics, right? We are talking about ethics and what it means from an ethical standpoint. What it means from an ethical standpoint. We'll come to the threats later, but from an ethical standpoint, so ethics is basically what is morally right, what is morally good, or what is from an ethical standpoint. If you prepare an account and you audit it, it might lead to bias, some form of bias. Yeah. Another ethical issue we also have here is, while we are reading, we saw something around a gift. There was an offer of a gift from the client to the members of the audit team. So you would see that someone was trying to make a gift. And what kind of gift was being given?
Presentation box.
Okay, so it was a presentation box, and here to erase this, and here we are focusing on ethical issues, things that, might create a bit of a problem, might create a problem. We are talking about what is morally right or morally wrong. So the presentation box of the client's jewelries will give rise to an ethical issue. Okay. Does anyone else see any ethical issue again?
The part where they're supposed to pay the royalties, and
fantastic.
Able to.
Fantastic. So the payments of the royalties. In III, it says in early January 2019, the company received correspondence from the Ghana Revenue Authority claiming that the company has failed to pay certain mineral royalties, which are usually charged on the jewelry manufactured. Normally, these levies are automatically deducted. Blah, 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 blah.
Sir.
Yeah.
Please, can we consider that to be an ethical issue or a legal issue? That's paying of the royalties to GRE. Should we consider that to be an ethical issue or a legal issue?
Do you think it's an ethical issue?
I was thinking it was more of a legal issue.
Okay, so why do you think it's not an ethical issue?
Well, from our standpoint, so a company is running a business, and per the statutory, that's the laws govern that company, and with the transaction involved, you are bound by the laws of that industry to pay certain taxes or certain royalties to GRE. So I was thinking it more to be a legal something than an ethical something.
Okay.
Yes, I have a question about the legal thing. You see, they are selling to themselves, so it's more or less like transfer pricing. So how are you going to price and pay VAT on, pay taxes or royalties on what you are transferring to yourself? So that's where the question comes in.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't see the part of this selling to themselves. Okay.
Yeah. So
it's an ethical issue.
Yeah. So I was coming to. So that's a good point. So that's where the ethics comes in. Here we have ethics is all about it's basically what is morally right or wrong, morally right or wrong. So that's where the ethical side of things come in. Yeah. Are there any other ethical issues that you can identify?
So can you say that they're trying to separate the royalty issue from the audit? Trying
yes,
to look at it separately.
Yeah. So, sorry, like, could you finish your thoughts? Finish your thoughts.
Yes. So I was saying that they're trying to separate the to look
They are
at
saying that the royalties do not apply, right?
Yes, and
Yes.
they're trying to look at it separately from in addition to the audit.
Yes, that's also an ethical issue. So they are requesting to deal with the failure to pay royalties in a separate. They are saying that it just doesn't apply in this case. So that's also an ethical issue as well. Now let's move on to what was the next question? I thought the question. What was the next question? Discuss 5 ethical issues that may arise in relation to the audits. Okay. 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 So anytime you come across ethical issues, right? One of the ways you can actually answer the question is by knowing. So I'm giving you a simple strategy, is by knowing the threats. So the threats we discussed in class, what did we say? Self-interest threats,
Self-review
threats, familiarity threats. If you're able to list them, you would find ethical. So let's try it. Now let's take something like self-review threats, right? Let's take something like self-review threats. Let's take something like self-review threats. You realize that we even mentioned that from the onset, where they will be reviewing their own work, and so what is the danger here? The danger here is that they will not be as skeptical as they need to be, or they will not be as objective as they need to be when
as they are supposed
to be, when auditing the work. So anytime you hear ethical issues, those threats, I think there are about 5 of them. It's one of the key things that you need when you're going into the exam. It will help you on a lot of things. So please keep them in mind. So if you pick self-review threats, you see, you can easily find an ethical issue from that. Even sometimes, this is just a tip I'm giving you as even sometimes some students, they just, they are just able to use these threats and come up with, when you understand these threats, you're able to fish out ethical issues from the passage easily. So for example, if you pick something like familiarity threats, can you mute your microphone, please? Felix. So if you have what do you call it? So when you look at something like familiarity threat, right? Familiarity threat, do you see any ethical issues bordering around that in the passage? Let's just think about it. Do you see any ethical issues bordering around that?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
The financial statement being prepared and audited by a division within the company.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So you see how using the threats can help you identify ethical issues easily. It's very, very easy. And understanding these threats alone can help you in several areas in the exam. You know, again, once you've identified familiarity threats, you can easily move on to advocacy, right? If you move on to advocacy to here, it's easy to take the side of the client. You know, it's easy to take the side. So these are, I don't know if I'm making sense. Am I? Let me know if I'm making sense.
Yes, please.
Oh, yes, please.
So always keep those threats in mind. If you are even reading the passage and you see that you don't know, you can't find any ethical issues, you've blanked out in the exam. If you remember these 5 threats and you understand them, you know familiarity is close contact with the client can cause, you know, all kinds of problems and being too familiar. You go back to the passage and you see that, oh, there's something somewhere, you know, and you use that to explain. Self-review, you know, all those little things you can, as you go through them, you see that, oh, it becomes a lot easier. So this is one of the key things to remember. So please, just letting you know. Now let's move on to B. Did we read B? I don't think so.
No, sir.
Okay, so let's read B, and I hope everyone understands the approach. You know, in a lot of classes, they like maybe a lot of people won't have time to take you through past questions, to teach you strategies and all that. So please take advantage of it. Like some of the points that I note, just note them down. You know, it will come in handy when you're going to write your exam. Okay, B.
B, mobile phone limited, into brackets, mobile phone. It's a large communication group which operates from several locations around the world. It has recently announced plans to expand its operation, where it will afford a range of mobile communication facilities and provide internet services such as access, navigation, and internet-related softwares and services. You are an audit manager of Kasim, Hamza and Co. And you have been assigned to the planning work of the audit of mobile phone. And this will be the second year in which your firm has provided its audit service. You have just met with the finance director of mobile phone prior to the agreeing engagement letter of the year. The FD has informed you that mobile phone has continued to grow quickly with financial accounting system changing rapidly and appropriate control systems being difficult to maintain. Additional services in terms of review and implementation of control systems have been requested. An internal audit department has recently been established within mobile phone, and the controller wants you to ensure that external audit work is limited by using this department. You have also learned that mobile phone is to market a new type of mobile telephone, which is able to intercept messages from the emergency services. The legal status of this telephone is unclear at present, and development is not being publicized. The granting of the franchise to market the mobile telephone is dependent on the financial stability of mobile phone. The FD has indicated that Kasim, Hamza, and Co. may be asked to provide a report to the mobile telephone franchisor regarding mobile phones cash flow forecasts for the year ended 31st March 2019 to support the franchise application required. As part of the risk assessment procedure for the audit of mobile phone for the year ending 31st March 2019, analyze 5 specific issues pertinent to this particular audit. 10 marks.
Okay. So you see, usually, if you realize the audit question is not straightforward, they'll give you a long passage. You know, they could have just told you required. They could have just, as part of blah blah, they could have just told you analyze 5 specific issues pertaining to this audit in relation to risk assessment procedure, but they'll give you a whole passage. So what are some of the issues? What are some of the issues, even before I come in, that we identify? You know, I always say that at the back of your mind, put at the back of your mind those threats. So what are some of the issues?
Sir, can you say that they want the work of Kasim Hamza and Co Limited to be solely dependent on the work of the internal audit?
Can you explain
by that?
They
limit, by that they tend to limit the, they tend to limit the activities of the auditors. In some cases, it is sometimes advisable to use or get a preview of what the whole audit is about using the internal audit, but you are not supposed to depend solely on the work of the internal audit to build your work up on.
Okay, that's a good point. Do you think that there is any issue with regards to them breaching, like Kasim Hamza and Co? Do you think there's any possibility of them breaching any ethical guidelines by accepting the work, this non-audit work? Do you see any possibility of them breaching any ethical guidelines by them accepting the work? Do you think is it okay for them to accept the work?
Yes. Hello, sir. Isaac here.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah. There's something I'm noticing with regards to Kasim and then and mobile phone. I can see some bit of advocacy threat in here.
Okay.
The reason is, if you could go up a bit, the reason is I can see the finance director is in some way trying to woo the Kasim, because you could see that they are looking to submit a cash flow forecast, which if you look at the statement, the last paragraph, you could see that the franchise arrangement which they are looking to have, or for it to be granted, more is being dependent on this cash flow forecast that they will be submitting. You could see that from the conversation that they are having with the with Hamza, Kasim Hamza, you can see that they want, it's kind of an advocacy that they are doing in order for them to buy into this franchise arrangement that they are going into, so that they can present a cash flow that will be in the interest of the company. That is something that I'm seeing here in terms of the finance director's discussion with with Kasim, the auditors.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. But another thing that I don't know if you guys saw this, but it says as part of the risk assessment procedures, analyze 5 specific issues. Right? So some of the things that should immediately come to your mind is whether Kasim, Hamza, and Co have, the skills that are necessary to perform the audit. That's one of the key things. That's one of the key things, because I think they said that in the beginning, they said that, let me see. I think they mentioned somewhere how many partners are in Kasim, Hamza. You have been assigned with the planner. Okay, I'll find it later. But one of the things you need to check is, do they have the skills necessary? Do they have the skills necessary to perform the audit? That's one of the key things. And in this case, do you think that they have the necessary skills? Did the case tell us anything about that? Do they have the necessary skills?
Well, so you can say they may not have,
Yes.
because this is their second year of providing audit services.